All right, top 10 list. Here's what I'm doing. So I'm looking at the 10 players that were selected within the first 10 picks of the 2022 NFL Draft, and I'm ranking them in terms of how good of a preseason they had. And really what I would say is how impressive of a preseason they had. So how much was I impressed with them? If you're someone who I already wasn't overly impressed with, but then you played well, you might actually get higher on the rankings than someone who played just as well, kind of thing. So that's how I do this. It's kind of just a sort of a fun video to talk about how I thought some of these great prospects played right away. So with that being said, let's just get into it, starting off with number 10. Number 10, Evan Neal. And just to explain, the number you see to the right of his name, that is going to be where he ranked in terms of Pro Football Focus grade. So he was 128th out of the 178 total tackles. It's going to be out of the position that they played, and just, everyone who qualifies is just if you played one snap. So he was on the lower end. I thought that he looked a little bit, has some issues that he needs to work out, which I think he will. I'm not concerned about Evan Neal. I actually didn't think anyone came out and embarrassed themselves in this list. So don't take this as I think Evan Neal was bad in the preseason. I don't think any of them were bad in the preseason. But, there were just some technique issues that I thought he got better as the preseason went on. But you would have liked to see maybe not happen at all right away. I wouldn't be shocked at all if he kind of has an Andrew Thomas type trajectory where he maybe struggles right away, but then eventually gets better and better. I could see something like that happening. Number 8, sticking with the tackles, Charles Cross for the Seattle Seahawks. Again, to me, he kind of just it's a neutral feeling for me. I wasn't mad at his performance or anything. I expected Charles Cross to be really good. I think maybe I was a little bit underwhelmed, but not overly underwhelmed. He was fine. I expected him to be good. He was fine. So it's I can't be mad at that necessarily. It's the preseason. You can only take so much away from it. But, that's kind of how I viewed him. So there you go. And number 8, sticking with the tackles here, I have Ikem Ekwonu, who's another guy who, again, he was my tackle 1 out of college. So, big fan of him. He did get beat here and there. He did. I don't think the way that he got beat is overly concerning, but he did get beat some here and there. He also played very well at times, I thought. So there's good and there's bad with Ikem Ekwonu, but the bad isn't really that bad. The good was very good. I still feel completely confident he is going to be a fantastic player at some point. I think the question is, and that's how I feel about, all three of these guys. The question is just sort of at what point will they become that fantastic player? That's all the quote unquote concern I have with them, which maybe even shouldn't even be that big of a concern because I don't know if any of these teams are being competitive this year anyways, so who cares? Number 7, the Sauce Boss himself, Sause Gardner, who, I gotta be honest, evaluating the corner tape has just been difficult for me. I watched what I can with him, the sample size that we do have. But, with these corners, it's just kind of difficult because all I get is the broadcast footage. So while I do take time and effort into this stuff, there's only so much I can do with it. So because of that, that's kind of why I have him and you will see another corner very soon, kind of in a similar spot. Because, okay, I can look at the numbers. The numbers were good for him, so that's good. I fully expect he will be good right away, but there's only so much evaluation I can really do. So I kind of have to just, trust the data here, which was very good. I mean, 55th out of the 279 eligible players, that's good. And at number 6, Derek Stingley was slightly better. So I have him slightly better here. But again, it's kind of the same logic of I watched him and he looked solid. I didn't see any issues. But again, there could have been issues, and especially, some of these preseason broadcast teams, God bless them. They're, they'll be zooming in on the quarterback's forehead, as the play's 3 seconds in. I'm can we see something here? Please help me. But yeah, again, graded out very well. So we can move on to the next one. I have Drake London here at number 5, who was 32nd out of 297 eligible receivers. So that's very good. He got 1 target, literally 1 target. It was a great target though. And it kind of actually, what's interesting about that 1 target is that it was exactly kind of the A.J. Brown mold. Because again, Arthur Smith came from Tennessee, where he kind of used A.J. Brown in that over the middle type way. I think Drake London could be another guy who can, do that stuff. I think that's why they like him. And I wouldn't be shocked at all if he's someone who can play that role very well. So again, liked him out of college, and I think that he's shown a little bit of flashes in the small sample size that we've seen from him. Number 4, I have Garrett Wilson, who's another guy who I wasn't wild about Garrett Wilson coming out of college. Not to say that I hated him. I think I had him as more of like a late first round guy, maybe even early second, whereas he ended up going early first round. But what I always say about wide receivers is nobody knows. It's a guessing game with wide receivers. The reality is it's the most difficult position to predict. Teams get it wrong the most, and really the best strategy I've always felt with wide receivers is the Steelers strategy. Take a wide receiver every day 2, and you're going to get good receivers that way. I think that's the smart way to go about it. That being said, I thought Garrett Wilson played well this preseason, and I think that he's shown that he can definitely have some flashes. And as important, the wide receiver position is so important that even if it's only a marginal, higher upside when you draft someone in the first round versus the second or third, it might be worth it for a receiver-needy team, and I think that he played well. So Garrett Wilson's someone I'm definitely excited about heading into this regular season. I think he could fit that scheme very well. I think London could be perfect for the Falcons, and Wilson could be perfect for the Jets. Number 3, I do have Kayvon Thibodeaux here. So I have the 3 edge rushers at the top of this list. So if you watched I made another video about this, about the edge rushers in particular that were drafted in the first round altogether. Sorry if I'm repeating some of that stuff here, but Thibodeaux I thought played very well at times. In fact, I think that he's probably higher on this list if it wasn't for the fact that he then got banged up, and that kind of hurt him a little bit. But I still thought that when he was out there, he was just impressive, and he was someone who you just noticed him. You saw number 5 flying around there when you were watching him play. So the consistency, the highlight reel level stuff, very exciting. Thibodeaux looks like he can be fantastic. The obvious disappointment is he got banged up, but it's not like he's out for the year or anything like that. He got banged up, but he'll be all right. So docked him a little bit of points, but didn't dock him a ton, just because I think the good outweighed the bad with Thibodeaux. Number 2, Aiden Hutchinson, who, listen, his numbers were not spectacular. I think that's fair to say. Although I thought that he looked so great. Like that first game, he came out and just looked fantastic, and I was like, "Oh my God, here we go. This is, he's gonna just go in and win Defensive Player of the Year right away." And then, the third preseason game happened, and it's like, okay, well, not getting as much consistency as I would like here, I think. But we learned that a lot of his moves that I think people said would not be able to work, or were concerned if they wouldn't be able to work, I should say. I think we saw that those will work. I'm going to trust the bigger body of work here, and I still actually, to me, the fact that I've seen some of those plays can work excites me, even if I've also seen that there wasn't quite the consistency you'd hope for. It's preseason. Who cares about how you did? I care about what have you shown that you can do, and to me, he's shown he can do a lot of really good stuff, and so because of that, I'm actually excited about what Hutchinson can do, if that makes sense. And it's kind of a similar logic with the guy who I have at number 1. Travon Walker has shown me that he can use some of his just pure athleticism to get wins at the NFL level, which is something that I was concerned about and didn't know if he'd be able to do because, he didn't do it a lot in college. Let's just be honest. No matter what excuses you say for why the production wasn't there in college, the production wasn't there in college no matter what you do. Even if you isolate certain plays and say only on obvious pass rush situations where he rushed a passer, his numbers still weren't great in those situations. So that being said, he's shown that kind of some of these moves that we thought wouldn't work at the NFL level can work at the NFL level. And maybe just with that, he can be more of an exciting player, and I can see it. There's definitely excitement to be had with Travon Walker. The question, though, is this something that works in the preseason, or is this something that just works? And we won't know that until we see it in the regular season. But yeah, that's my list. Where am I stupid? Why am I wrong? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.